Let us pray. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, this past week I had the opportunity, the privilege to spend some time with the Great Commission Cluster, which is a group of churches from our mission district as we gather at Luther Ridge for the week. I was there Sunday through Tuesday, and we had a glorious time participating in everything from little sliding rock to relays at the pool to our very own version of the game, Family Feud. Most importantly, we had the opportunity to gather together and study God's Word. On Monday, we began our time by looking at the sacrament of baptism, and what it means to say that we are baptized members of God's holy family. And then on Tuesday, we took a closer look at the Ten Commandments and what it means to keep them. Now, the ordering of these days is very intentional during the week. See, there's a very important connection between being baptized and living out the commandments, or you might say being obedient to those commandments. It's a connection that is explored today in our lesson from Romans chapter 6. Here, Paul is writing to the church in Rome, confronting the false assumption that often arises when people are presented with the gospel of God's grace. If my sins are forgiven, they say, then why shouldn't I go on sinning? Perhaps it's good for us to ask ourselves, do we consider sin dangerous? If someone were to come up to you and point a gun at you, would you recognize the danger of that situation? Probably so. Or if a car swerves into your lane while you're driving, would you see the danger and try to avoid it? I think we all hope that we would. But do we see sin like those things as a danger bearing down on us? Have we become too comfortable with it and think it harmless? Well, the Apostle Paul sees sin very differently than much of the world around us today, calling it not harmless, but slavery. He calls it captivity. This captivity is not a good thing. Unfortunately, we sometimes, or maybe oftentimes, see sin as enjoyable or pleasurable or maybe even necessary. Enjoying ourselves as we defame other people's reputations, letting gossip enslave our tongues, or finding pleasure in lust, greed, or gluttony, maybe even thinking that we have to tell just a little lie in order to have a successful business, to make something succeed. While it's true that you do not always control your sin, it's also true that your sin does not control you. It does not have dominion over you as your Lord or as your King. The evidence of that fact is the fact that you are here today. You are here under a totally different king, a king with a capital K, and a different Lord. You're here because he has dominion over you by his word, by the forgiveness of your sins, and by his Holy Spirit. God has made you a part of his family and therefore a victor over sin through the waters of baptism. Paul has spent the first part of Romans chapter 6 discussing what it means to be baptized into Christ, baptized into his death and also his resurrection. Such a baptism has made us dead to sin, but alive to God. You're probably familiar with those first 11 verses or so, and so today's lesson is a continuation of that discussion. Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body to make you obey its passions. For sin will have no dominion over you, since you're not under law, but under grace. Being baptized means that we are set free from the clutches of sin, that its dominion over us has been vanquished, and we belong to the realm of Christ, to the promise of the resurrection. We die and we rise with Christ. Christ is what it means to deal with sin. To die and rise with Christ, living in our baptism each and every day. To die and rise with Christ, living in his resurrection forgiveness each and every day. To die and rise with Christ, eating and drinking his crucified and risen body and blood, and so not only living in him, but him living in us. Christ living in us and working in us and through us. Christ reigning over us from the throne of the cross. His death and resurrection is the pattern of our lives. See, we aren't exempt from the challenges, the sicknesses, and the powers of this world. But these forces do not have the final authority over us. In other words, being baptized doesn't guarantee that we won't sin, that we won't give in to temptation on this side of heaven. Our mortal bodies remain much like a bull's eye for the devil. But because of Christ, we're under the protection of the risen Lord. The forgiveness and grace God pours out on us through Jesus is the means by which we have the opportunity to struggle and to fight against sin. And one of the things that we discussed with our campers at the start of this last week was the importance and the place of the Ten Commandments. Given that we've been forgiven through the work of Christ and do not have to earn our way to God. What we shared with them, and what I would like to share with you all now, is this. Christ's death did not give us a free pass to live however we want, to break the commandments however we want, to make up rules however we want. Rather, Christ has freed us from worrying about how we might earn our salvation. We know that we can't earn that salvation, and that we've been given salvation as a gift. And now, because of Christ, we have the freedom to serve our neighbor and to serve all those people who are in need. And I bet you don't have to look too far to see someone in need. In other words, the freedom Christ grants us is freedom from the power of sin. He opens the door for us to be slaves of righteousness, as Paul puts it, meaning that we are no longer slaves to impurity or serve lawlessness, but that we willfully obey God. That leads to righteousness. When we think of God's law, particularly the Ten Commandments, we don't see them as sins to avoid, but as ways that we might please God through obedience. The small catechism section on the Ten Commandments, Martin Luther lists out each commandment, and underneath he has a section entitled, "What does this mean?" Luther goes on to explain each commandment by saying we should fear and love God so that we don't just not kill, but we also protect life. So that we don't just avoid taking God's name in vain, but that we take every opportunity to praise it and to thank Him. This is what it means to go and bear the fruit of good works. We know that good works flow from faith, that free gift that's given to us in our baptism. As this baptismal faith that empowered the prophet Jeremiah that we read a little bit earlier to live and prophesy in and among a sinful, rebellious, and murderous world. That baptismal faith is what empowered the first disciples to go out into the world and to meet all those people with the gospel. Our gracious Lord knows every hair on your head. He knows every sparrow that falls to the ground, and we are worth much more than all those things. You and I were worth the death of His only begotten Son. This free gift was given so that we might live eternally and not die eternally. It was given so that we might live under the rule of Christ, no longer a slave to sin, but as a child of God. I invite you now to go forth to live under this grace, this glorious grace of God, and not under sin. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.